Magazine intro. Actor Michael Rapaport had been friends with Natasha for more than 5 years. But when she rented an apartment in his New York brownstone, he was shocked by how things changed so drastically. And mad. So he wanted to write about it. I met Natasha Lyonne in Los Angeles during the spring of 1997. We shared the same agent. Steven. Steven had described her as this really smart, really funny and really talented actress he had been working with. He would tease me that she was like an 18-year-old female version of myself. Anyway, at the time I was looking to sublet my apartment in Los Angeles for about a year because I was going to be living full-time back in my hometown of New York City. Steven told me Natasha was looking to sublet a place in Los Angeles, so we met each other at the apartment. I was immediately fascinated. She's about 5'3". She had this unusually beautiful face and big head of curly reddish blonde hair. She looked like a cross between Molly Ringwald, Bette Midler and Janis Joplin. She spoke with this very husky but girlish voice that manifested itself through a tough-sounding New York accent. We instantly hit it off. I couldn't believe she was only 18. She was, as Steven said, very smart, funny and talented. She tripped me out with her vast and eclectic knowledge of books, film and music. We bonded and Natasha wound up subletting my apartment 150% problem-free for a year. In 2001 I heard she was arrested in Florida for a DUI, but it always just seemed like she was a young girl who liked to party. Then in the spring of 2002, a couple of months after I had purchased my first apartment building in New York, Natasha said she was interested in renting out one of the floors. The building is a 4-story brownstone that is essentially broken up into 4 separate living spaces. The ground floor has a small apartment that I rented to my best friend Tim and a separate duplex that I eventually rented to a quiet singer dude named Rick. The 3 upper floors, which include a huge living room, a beautiful kitchen, 4 bedrooms and garden access, are the main attraction of the building. There's a staircase and an elevator that runs through the building, so even though everyone has their own private space, they do interact with the other tenants more than in most apartment buildings. Natasha introduced me to 2 girls, a rock and roll chick named Melanie and a model named Diana, who ended up sharing the first 2 floors. Natasha took the top floor through apartment for herself. Everyone lived harmoniously in this sort of communal living space. It remained very peaceful until the fall of 2003. At that point, Rick, Melanie and Diane all decided to move out. Natasha wanted to have a say in who would move in next, which was fine with me. We had become very good friends by then and I trusted her judgment. So a new dude named Chad moved into Natasha's old apartment, and another dude named John came in as Natasha's roommate on the bottom 2 floors. A couple, Peter and Kathy, moved into the duplex. And as always, Tim was in his little studio apartment. Tim was sort of acting as my landlord, who would deal with taking care of fixing and cleaning the building, because I live in Los Angeles. Anyway, as I said, Natasha and I had become close. She really was one of the smartest, most insightful people I have ever known. So, at first I didn't pay much attention when Tim started calling me a couple times a week in the winter of 2002 through 2003, asking, "Yo, what's up with your girl upstairs? She's been bugging out." I would be like, "What do you mean?" Tim would tell me he heard all kinds of music and furniture moving in the middle of the night. I was like, "Stop bitching." Tim went on, "No, I'm telling you, she's up there all hours of the night moving stuff, banging around, and there's mad people coming in and out of the building all the time." Nonetheless, I never really took any of this seriously. I actually liked that Natasha was bothering Tim, cause he would always pay his rent late and Natasha was still my best tenant. She always paid her much larger rent on time. I would occasionally speak with Natasha on the phone during that time and she started complaining about the other roommates, saying one wasn't right for the building and she just plain didn't like another. Kathy called around the time to say Natasha had been acting strange and was always screaming at people, flipping out. I told Kathy, I'm sure she's fine, and asked her to please pay her rent. After that, the reports from Tim got more frequent. He called me one time and was like, "Mike, yo, this chick had me up all night. First she was banging on my window at 3:30 a.m. cause she lost her keys, which was fine. But then she had a bunch of people over until 7 a.m. It's Thursday. That's some bullshit." Tim is a mild-mannered guy, but I could tell he was losing patience. When I talked to Natasha about it, she said, "Dude, I pay $4,000 a month to you. If I want to have guests over, I can have guests over. It's not that big a deal." She finally agreed that she would keep it down and go talk to Tim. The next day, Tim told me Natasha had come down to talk to him. But he said he thought something was up with her. My wife, who was also very good friends with Natasha, checked in with her and said that Natasha told her she had been partying a lot, but that she loved us and would be more respectful of Tim, etc. So I figured the situation was done. But it got worse. Reports kept coming in from all of the roommates, people were going in and out of the apartment. I heard Natasha had climbed through one of the windows because she didn't want to use the front door, and so on. I was now getting pissed off. I called her and screamed that she needed to cut it out. We argued on the phone until someone hung up first. A couple of weeks later, things went downhill and stayed there. Even her most loyal friends didn't seem to come around so often. We were all worried and expressed our concerns. Then Chad decided to move out. This time, I told her, I'm getting a tenant via Craigslist, a person you won't know, but that's the way it's gonna be from now on. I found 2 girls to live in the upstairs apartment, nice, regular girls in their late 20s, Shelly and Sue. As soon as they moved in, shit went wild. Natasha hated them. Within the first week, the girls called me and said she had been rude in the hallways and that she would scream up to their apartment, "Why the fuck did you cunts move in here?" About 3 weeks after they moved in, Shelly told me their door buzzer was ringing all day with people looking for Natasha. It seems Natasha had shuttered her windows and stopped answering her own buzzer. At the same time, Tim was telling me about the late-night parties and random dudes sprawled out on her sofa at all hours. Her close friend and roommate, John, decided to suddenly move out, telling me he'd had enough. He also let me know he was worried about her health. I was pissed, and scared. I called Natasha and said, "Listen, as a friend, please don't let people you don't really know into your apartment. They could rob you. They could rob the building. Please stop. Please." We actually had a pleasant conversation. She told me she would stop letting them into the house. She said none of her friends wanted to help her anymore. She also mentioned moving out, which made me happy. She owns a little apartment nearby that she sublets to someone else. Natasha was then living all alone in an enormous apartment. Around late August is when things between her and Shelly upstairs got hectic. Shelly called me crying one day. She told me again about the parties, the screaming. She mentioned Natasha blocking off the elevators so she couldn't get to her apartment. She said worst of all, the previous night, she'd had a little dinner party. Natasha was screaming up at them throughout the party, referring to her and the group as cunts, etc. Natasha then knocked on Shelly's door offering flowers, before screaming upstairs at them again a half hour later. I was done. I called Natasha and said, "You got to move ASAP." She told me Shelly was a troublemaker. I wasn't hearing it. I told Natasha I wanted her to leave by October 1st. She said she would, and we actually ended the call in a nice way. She would always say how much she loved me, my family and the apartment. Blah blah. Time to go. Anyway, around mid-September I went to NYC. I headed straight to the building to smooth things out with Shelly and Sue. I wanted to apologize and assure them Natasha would soon be gone. They warned me, "Michael, she's very bad. She's skinny. Her hair is falling out and her skin is all messed up with a rash or something." About an hour later, I heard Natasha walking around upstairs. So I said to Tim, "Let's go say, what's up?" He was like, "Bro, I see her every day. I lock my door from her. I don't need to see her." I felt nervous. I walked up the stairs calling, "Natasha, it's me, you there?" I heard nothing. I knocked. "Yo, it's Mike. What's up?" She quickly opened the door and screamed, "Dude, I know this is your building and you have your little cunts upstairs, but dude, please let me know when you're coming over." Fuck man. I was in shock. I didn't speak. I think Natasha felt bad for screaming, so she apologized and hugged me. I felt sick to my stomach the moment she touched me. Her body was so skinny. I could tell that she knew her appearance made me uncomfortable. She's a very sensitive person. We sat down and talked about everything that had been going on. The conversation is impossible to recite. From that point on, our friendship was never the same, I think primarily out of fear and shame on Natasha's part and sheer frustration and a growing anger from me. The complaints from the tenants were constant and her apartment was starting to get run down. I had to hire plumbers to repair her bathroom twice in the summer because both the toilet and bathtub were so badly clogged. In November, I went back to New York. At this point, Tim had moved out and Natasha agreed to leave by December 1st. As soon as I saw her, I knew she was not gonna make that date because nothing had been packed up in her apartment. I told her, "Okay, screw it. I know you're not leaving December 1st. I'm gonna tell you now, I don't want you here anymore. I don't want you as a friend anymore. And again, I want you out." She assured me she would leave by January 1st. I must be a sucker or an idiot cause at that moment I really believed she'd leave. On Friday, December 17th, shit finally hit the fan. I got a late-night call that Natasha had been arrested. I must admit I was not surprised. Allegedly, Natasha had started screaming and going off on Shelley. Then for some reason, Natasha went up and started banging on Shelley and Sue's door. Apparently, Natasha ripped down their mirrors, destroyed some of their belongings and threatened Shelley's dog. Shelley and Sue had to get restraining orders against her and they moved out of the apartment for 2 weeks because they said they were afraid of her. That week, I sent my lawyer over to post the eviction notice on her door. I couldn't believe it had come to that. Needless to say, January 1st came and went and Natasha wouldn't leave. Some of her close friends told me they had visited her to say they were worried about her. But she didn't seem to change. Finally, by the end of January, she moved out. I was relieved and hoped I could get everything back to normal again. But when I flew to New York about a week later, I walked into a disaster area. It looked like a grenade had gone off in her bedroom. There was garbage everywhere, scripts, contracts, pages from Hustler magazine, photos, letters and things I can't even mention. There were glasses smashed in the kitchen and there was standing water in the clogged tub with flies hovering over it. When the plumber saw the condition of the bathroom, he said he'd never seen anything that bad before. A freaking New York City plumber, that's how bad it was. Natasha, who I used to think was so cool, had shit on me and my property. I couldn't rent the apartment out because it was in such bad shape. We had to rip up part of the ceiling to get at the ruined pipes. It took me 6 weeks and 16 grand in repairs before I got it looking good again. Can you tell I'm pissed? I know that girl needs help and I tried to help her. A lot of her friends did. But she screwed me. She can kiss my ass.